Several million people around the world are amputees, but with many of them you wouldn't be able to tell, thanks to modern prosthetic technology. With the help of the latest technology, amputees can now lead a largely independent life and reach goals that seemed virtually impossible just a few years ago. Today, living with an amputation is a very different thing than it was in the past. Although an amputation is always a traumatic event, there are now modern treatment measures that can substantially improve a person's quality of life. Olaf is 33 years old and works as an economist in the public administrative service in Germany. His left leg was amputated above the knee due to cancer. Like Olaf, many people undergo amputation surgery each year, although the reasons may vary. Accidents, infections and tumours are common causes, but in the lead are circulatory disorders and diabetes. Insufficient blood flow to the extremities can be a life-threatening situation. In many cases, amputation surgery is the only way to save life. The attending doctor explains to Olaf what treatment steps have already been completed and what to expect next. The doctor assumes overall responsibility for the rehabilitation process, treatment management and coordination, supporting and informing the patient. The amputation height is selected by the attending doctor according to the findings. The most common amputation types can be classified as follows. In the foot region, there is the so-called Chopin amputation, which retains the ankle. The so-called Syme amputation severs the ankle. A below-the-knee amputation is also known as a transtibial amputation. In a knee disarticulation, the limb is amputated at the knee joint. An amputation above the knee is known as a transfemoral amputation. Amputations in the hip area include hip disarticulation, which is an amputation that removes the entire thigh bone, as well as the so-called hemipelvectomy, which is an amputation in the pelvic region. In order to obtain a successful rehabilitation, it's crucial that all rehabilitation measures are begun as soon as possible, regardless of the amputation level. For Olaf, this includes correct positioning of the residual limb right from the start, in addition to instructions for wrapping the residual limb and caring for the skin. These measures help produce swelling of the residual limb, make the skin more resilient, and support wound healing, important prerequisites for the subsequent prosthetic fitting. The time a wound takes to heal varies considerably, and proper wound healing is essential. Responsibility for these tasks is assumed by the nursing staff. The nursing staff provides instructions for care of the residual limb, wound care, positioning, wrapping techniques and donning a liner. During his time in the rehabilitation clinic, his physical therapist is an important contact person for Olaf. The physical therapist is responsible for edema reduction and promoting circulation, mobilization training for joints and musculature, and later, handling the prosthesis and gait training. This physical therapist has many years of experience in the treatment of amputees. She has set herself the goal of getting Olaf back on his feet. The physical therapist develops a long-term plan to help Olaf train for improved balance, strength and mobility. Physical fitness will affect his ability to walk again. This is why adhering to the training schedule is important in order to avoid muscle stiffness and joint contractures, both in the amputated leg and in the rest of the body. As soon as wound healing is complete, the prosthetic fitting process can commence. The prosthetist is responsible for this phase. The prosthetist is responsible for fabricating the prosthesis, adapting and maintaining the prosthesis, educating the patient. The subsequent process is discussed with Olaf by the team. But what is a prosthesis anyway? A prosthesis is an artificial replacement for a body part. A leg prosthesis consists of several components. The part that holds the residual limb and connects it to the prosthesis components is called the socket. This socket is fabricated according to the dimensions of the amputee and may be made of various materials. Connecting elements, so-called adapters, connect the socket to the artificial knee joint and the knee joint to the prosthetic foot. The individual selection of components has a major impact on the functionality and area of application of the leg prosthesis. In order to fabricate a custom prosthesis, the prosthetist first takes measurements and takes a plaster cast of the patient's residual limb. This is used to make a prosthetic socket. For Olaf, subsequent trial fittings are conducted with a complete prosthesis. After the verification of the prosthesis alignment, the patient can already take a few steps. While Olaf is already able to stand, Dr. Stinos knows he still has to learn how to walk again. The rehabilitation process begins prior to the operation during an initial consultation. In its course, it is explained that while amputation surgery does represent a major change, after all rehabilitation measures have been taken, the amputee's quality of life can still be quite good. To a large extent, it depends on the patient, on his level of motivation, and of course on the proper guidance by the rehabilitation team. Treatment under the care of a rehabilitation team is generally important. The team includes the prosthetist, the physiotherapist, and the doctor. An interdisciplinary prosthesis consultation is of course ideal and can lead to excellent patient outcomes. In the second phase, the rehabilitation team may involve just a physical therapist or a sports therapist, psychologist and occupational therapist as well. The physical or sometimes occupational therapist makes sure the patient can use the prosthesis confidently and offers assistance with activities of daily living. Sometimes it's necessary to include a psychologist to provide support for the patient during the rehabilitation phase. The physical therapist, or alternatively a sports therapist, may assist the patient with swimming, device training and strength endurance training to help the patient regain his or her former level of performance. Gait training is certainly of fundamental importance in the rehabilitation phase, since the patient has to learn how to walk with the prosthesis. Guidance by the physical therapist who is experienced in gait training is very important, since the patient may initially feel insecure when using the prosthesis. The physical therapist helps the patient gain confidence, but activities of daily life are also practiced. Finally, motivation on the part of the patient is extremely important. Optimum treatment success can only be achieved with a high level of motivation. Many, but not all people, are able to resume many of their former activities over the course of the healing process and enjoy a good quality of life. The combination of modern technology and a properly coordinated rehabilitation plan allows Olaf and many other prosthesis users to lead an independent life.